Oh, shit.
Right. Fine. Boom! We're live. I guess. I'm just gonna. I think we should just chat for a few minutes, give everyone a chance to join us. So, what's everyone done today? Anyone done any actual work?
Editing.
Mate.
Yeah.
I've been playing Sims.
Nice. I like that.
Sims. My girlfriend downloaded Sims as well.
I think Sims has made a bit of a resurgence during lockdown life. I've heard quite a lot of people playing Sims.
Are you using the money cheat, or are you actually doing it seriously?
That's a good question.
I've got like a weird Sims game on.
Give everyone a chance to join us. Who's watching on YouTube and not muted it? Done any actual work?
Editing.
Mate.
Yeah.
I've been playing Sims.
Nice.
Who's still?
My girlfriend downloaded Sims as well.
It's not me.
Sims has made a bit of a resurgence during lockdown life. A lot of people playing Sims.
Are you using the money cheat, or are you actually doing it seriously?
That's a good. I play Sims. How is
I'm getting like the same thing coming through twice.
Yeah, I think that's the used it.
Okay.
I might mute myself.
Is it how's it resurgence during lockdown life? How's the how many people we're seeing on this thing? Good, that seems better. All right.
That was weird.
That was weird for a minute. I think it's good.
We're in a loophole.
Yeah, we got beamed into a live version of ourselves.
Are we live now, or are we? Is this the green room, or is we?
You're live.
We're going. Yeah.
We're there.
Starting again.
People are watching. I'm getting 1 million WhatsApps through on my phone. That's exciting, if not incredibly distracting. What time is it? It's past. All right, I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to arrive still. Josh, do you want to tell us what you've actually been doing today, mate? How's lockdown life treated you?
Me?
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, it's been all right, man. First few weeks were quite good, actually. I actually slightly quite enjoyed them. Just spending time with the family that I obviously don't usually get to spend at home, which has been nice. I started and finished Star Wars for the very first time, which was cool. And then today I decided, in a moment of madness, to start digging up my garden, which I deeply regret. Yeah, my grass is just, mate, I weren't happy with it. So I started hacking away at it with a shovel, thinking I was going to start from scratch. And that was literally the worst decision I've made this whole time.
I did a little bit of garden starting projects last weekend, and it was one of those things where I was like, do you know what, this is going to take me no longer than an hour, and it was, I think, about 7.
Yeah, mate, it's mad how long it actually takes.
So long.
I spent like an hour thinking I'll have this done by the end of today. I was gonna fully cut, shovel out my whole grass, just start from scratch. And I was digging for hours, and I looked up and I'd just not even dented 5% of it, which the family weren't happy with.
Yeah, I can
yeah,
imagine,
I did get a bit of a pumpkin.
How about everyone else? What everyone else been up to? Ruining their gardens or doing film work?
Bit of both. digging a grave.
You said you were doing some editing today, mate.
I was editing. I've been editing for the last couple of weeks. No shooting, obs. Been doing a bit of yoga, actually. Yeah. Doing the yoga. Right. Doing some yoga in the garden. With it's quite nice. So that's it. Editing and yoga.
I think that yoga is another thing. Yoga and Sims have made two massive gains in public opinion at the moment in terms of how much. It's basically just really good things to do in the lounge, isn't it?
And bacon bread.
Banana
Bacon bread.
yeah.
Oh, do not talk to me about bacon bread. I've not enjoyed the whole baking bread thing. It's been tough. I've tried twice. The first time was an absolute flop. Second time was also quite a flop. Got kind of angry at it. Do you know what? I've never understood on Bake Off why people cry so much, but it is now 100% clear why people cry on Bake Off, because it's stressful as fuck.
I worked on Bake Off, so I get it. I can see the stress.
Yeah, fair enough. It's a stressful time. All right. Well, I think we've got quite a lot of people watching, so I think we'll probably kick off instead of me just rambling on.
I like it.
So maybe, guys, if you all just sit yourselves on, just put your mics on mute just for a minute, so I can just give a bit of a welcome to everyone, and then we'll crack off with the first film with Ben. So, hello, welcome everyone to the second online Peckham Filmmakers. It's really nice to see so many people here. I think that first of all, it's probably worth me just explaining what Peckham Filmmakers is, because I imagine some people watching who don't actually know what the fuck it is. So Peckham Filmmakers is what started out as a Facebook group like 2 years ago, essentially of a bunch of people who work kind of in and around the film industry, loosely based in the southeast of London. It's called Peckham Filmmakers. I'm sure there's people in the group from all over the world, but that is absolutely fine. It's just nice to have a name. So welcome to everyone, whether you're a regular or it's your first time. Going to work roughly like this tonight, assuming everything goes well. So we will have 3 films to show you all. So kind of as we go through the night, each person will give a quick introduction to their film. We'll then all watch it together through the live stream here, and then you'll be able to kind of have a Q&A with whoever it is who made it, who's on the call, to ask them kind of how they did it. Basically, ask them anything you want. To ask a question, you should be able to see to the right of your screen if you're on desktop or if you're on mobile or tablet. Then you'll have to just open up the comments section. Make sure you sign in. So if you just sign into a Google or YouTube account, and then you'll be able to comment, and that will come through as questions. And then I'll be fielding those questions to everyone on the call. If for whatever reason, hopefully everyone's internet connections are okay tonight, although I know that some of the ISPs have been slightly making things slower. So if you find any reason that your YouTube link is a bit laggy, we have got the Vimeo links to all the films in the description of this YouTube live stream as well. So you can all go back and watch them at a later time, or watch them in another player if you wish as we go. We're not already on it. There's also, you'll notice in the description, there's also a link to our WhatsApp broadcast and our email mailing list. So that's just to make sure you don't miss out on any future events. So please follow the instructions in the description there and join our WhatsApp and email mailing list so you can keep in touch with everything that's going on. And lastly, the last thing I want to say is, so we put on these events for free, always have done, and I think probably always will do, unless we find a sensible reason to charge something for it. But I know there's obviously a lot of people who are struggling at the moment, so we thought it might be nice to try and help out some local organisations who are doing the same for other people. So we've partnered up with Nunhead Knocks. So they're kind of like a Peckham, Nunhead, South East London that was launched 4 weeks ago. That's entirely volunteer run, and they're basically there just to help people in our local area who are struggling because of coronavirus, because of lockdown. Whether it's everything from kind of vulnerable young people who've maybe not got a safe place to stay, or can't get hold of food, or can't work, or families in the same positions. Anyone who needs any help, they're doing some really good work. So there's 2 ways you can get involved and help them. One, again, there's a link in the description to their website, and any kind of monetary donations that anyone is able to afford is really, really helpful for them and really well appreciated. That all goes towards kind of helping feed families who aren't able to work and afford food at the moment themselves. And they're also actually specifically looking for some assistance over the next couple of days, so kind of Friday, Saturday, Sunday this week, with some stills and filming of some of the work they're doing. So basically want to spread out their message as much as possible so that people in the local area know they exist and so they can help as many people as possible. So they are looking for some people to kind of within obviously self-isolation rules and making sure it's open. So they've got a good plan for kind of how to make it work. They're looking for some people to take some photos for them and maybe do a little bit of filming or editing. So if anyone's interested in helping out in that capacity, please just let me know. You can email me or WhatsApp me or Instagram or whatever. Let me know, get in touch today, and I will put you in touch with them. So I think we are good to crack on with the first thing we're going to watch, which is from Ben. So Ben, do you want to maybe unmute yourself and tell us what we're going to watch, mate?
Sure. You're about to watch a 1-minute promo film that I did for a charity called Kicking Off. It's set in Ghana. Can you hear me? Yeah. It's set in Ghana, and it's basically around a boy and a girl who find out about a local sports tournament and find their way at the tournament and win.
Nice.
I've given it away.
Ruined the ending.
Ruined it.
All right, sweet. Well, we're gonna try this. Try streaming the first one. So Luke's gonna press play for us. We'll watch it, and here very shortly for Q&A with Ben.
Kicking Off is in town. Go, 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 go.
All right, I'm back. Ben, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Boom. All right. That's it, man. Well done. Good film.
Thanks, man.
Tell me how it came about then. How did the project come about?
Project came about, got an email sent to me, as you do, kind of just out of the blue. A guy who knew one of my friends, photographer, Tom Joy. And it was a guy called Julian, who was basically the co-founder and CEO of Kicking Off, this charity. And he just kind of outlined what they did and said that they want a video for their site. And yeah, it just sounded really cool. What they do, and you know, they had some photos on there as well already done by someone. And it just looked like a really cool place to go and shoot. And I just instantly, you know, when you instantly just become inspired by some visuals and you're like, oh, that looks cool. I like that.
Yeah. Mate, that's really sick. How long were you out there for then? I
was out there for about 4 days. I went with a couple of volunteers who were actually, it was kind of half film shoot, half going out there with some volunteers and just like letting them do their thing whilst I kind of like had to, you know, it was kind of like working around them. It wasn't just specifically for me to go and film. So yeah.
That's cool, man. How did you find it directing the children?
So they didn't speak English. I mean, they spoke a little bit of English, but so Johnny and Daniela, the boy and girl, and there was a guy called Dom who was a kind of fixer. So they spoke Twi. So I would speak to Dom, who spoke Twi in English, and I'd basically direct him, and then he would tell the children. So it was quite funny all day, just kind of directing things at him, and then him telling them what to do, and then seeing them like do the action that I told them to do, and they were so good. They say don't work with animals or kids. but they were the best kids I've worked with before. Yeah.
Good, man. That's good to hear. Someone was Sam's just saying in the chat, how was it kind of getting everyone on board? There's a lot of people in the film. How was it getting them on board, and also like how was it just orchestrating that many people over 4 days?
So, luckily, Julian and Hattie, the co-founders of Kicking Off the charity, we had some volunteers as well who were helping out, and Dom, the fixer guy, and like 2 taxi drivers. It's kind of all, it's like obviously culturally different out there, so they all like know each other within the village and the kind of local towns. Dom just seems to know everyone who he went to, so we kind of just turn up to a school and say, who wants to be in a film, and they'd all be like, yeah, and then we just go out and film a little bit. And Dom was very good at kind of directing the kids. I mean, basically he directed it. I don't even know why I'm on it. Should be Dom. Yeah, so it was, they were just surprisingly great. I mean, before, like when I was on the plane going there, I was kind of thinking, not really sure how this one's going to go down. But Julian insisted that they were great and that it would be all okay, and it just turned out like being so easy. The tournament itself at the end of the film is actually what they do. So Kicking Off create sporting tournaments for the local towns and villages, and so I was actually, the tournament wasn't put on for the film. I was like just filming an actual tournament going on, so I was kind of running around the whole day whilst they played football, which was quite funny. I think they found that quite funny, just me running around sweating with a massive camera.
How much of that kind of, if any, did you manage to get planned before you went, and how much of it was just kind of that just sorting out as you went along?
I actually planned a lot of it before I went out there. I got a hold of some music from our brother Film Co. Hugo. Yeah, they're all right. Yeah, they supplied the track. Thank you. So I put that just in Premiere and kind of storyboarded it around the track. And Julian and I had spoken about kind of where we would shoot it, which locations, and Dom already lives in Ghana, so he was sending me like shots of like what it would look like, who the actors he'd got to play the roles, and what the kids look like. And yeah, I basically storyboarded the whole thing. So when we were shooting it, it was just like bam, 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 done. And then when I got home, I just edited it like in a couple of hours, to be honest. I was just choosing the best takes, which was usually the last take. So yeah.
Nice. That's really cool, man. Sim, Dean and Warren are saying kind of, we're actually just asking how much of it was storyboarded versus run and gun, which I think you've definitely covered there. But how much of those storyboarded shots, how did it go to plan? Like, did you get what you wanted to get, what you were expecting to get, or was much of it changed while you were there because of the situation?
That's a good point. I kind of went in thinking, right, I've got this, like, you go in with a kind of ideal situation and you kind of go in with this dream, this wish list. And I kind of went in with that, but with expecting it for it all to just be like kind of shat on. And it was surprisingly it all worked really well. I obviously I was just on my own. I just had the Sony FS7 with me, no gimbal, no kind of tracking, or basically no rig. So I used the taxi driver to like create all the smooth shots. I was kind of hanging out of cars, hanging out of a boot. So it was very like run and gun, DIY, heat of the moment type of thing.
How much of that was kind of, let's say, legal is not the right word, approved maybe, versus how much of that was like true run and gun, just kind of do it, get out there before and ask you questions?
I guess from yeah, in the UK, that probably wouldn't fly. In Ghana, where I mean, we were literally we weren't in like the capital city or anything. We were literally in the middle of nowhere. We were in places where they're not even roads; they're just tracks. So
it's a little bit easier to kind of get through.
Sorry,
it was a little bit easier for you to kind of get away with it then.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no one out there to tell you what to do. I mean, I feel bad saying that in a way, because I just feel almost like I've I don't know, Julian and Dom and Julian's been there for a long time and been working with people over there for a long time, and he nothing felt like weird about doing it. It wasn't as though I didn't take a drone, but yeah, just did. I mean, I say like hanging out. Yeah, I did one shot hanging out of a boot where all the kids were kind of running towards me. I guess the main thing that we made sure was that everyone was safe. I didn't really care about getting caught by. I mean, I didn't even see a policeman. Yeah.
Harry's asking kind of how much, or kind of what has this led to? Like, has kind of since you've created the project, have you managed to use it to kind of win any other things, or kind of what's it led to since doing it?
I think one thing that it did, which is really nice, it kind of I think it basically a really low budget, and we managed to get involved like yourself. We got it graded at Cheat. We got a guy called Andy Theakston to do post sound on it. I mean, all of these things like came in that wouldn't have happened had it not been kind of a charity film, and just like we were all working on it together. And I think, to answer your question, just having a bit of collaboration with people and then kind of strengthening those relationships and then, passing them on to future projects.
Yeah.
And it definitely has opened, a lot of doors for us in terms of, I guess, work. Just another thing to add to the portfolio, and it's a story. So it's not kind of in your face branded content. It's kind of more of a story campaign, which tickles my fancy.
Is that the kind of stuff you'd want to be doing more of, do you think?
I'd say so, yeah. I'd say so. I think it's just fun, isn't it? It's fun creating a story, and I guess getting paid to do it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, not that was my incentive for this film. I mean, I just wanted to have a great experience working with the charity, working in Ghana, and yeah.
It looks like it was. Yeah, I think that's one thing that comes across. We were involved in a small way from the sound, but I think it's just, like I said, doing charity things is cool when you can do one that you feel like it's obviously the main reason for it is that you're helping someone out, and that's awesome. And the fact that you managed to get benefit out of it yourself as well, that you kind of end up with a bit of work that you're really proud of and you can use to showcase what you can do, is just such a nice kind of side bonus, I think, from it.
Yeah, and in a nice way, Julian, from the start, I mean, it was half my idea, half Julian's idea, to be honest. We sat down in a pub and just like created the idea over a pint. And the great thing about having someone that's maybe a charity or just like they have such trust in you, and you can just kind of do what you want, really. There's no one really there's no client leaning over your shoulder with boxes to tick. I mean, there were obviously a few boxes to tick, but they were very minor. And it's nice to have that creative freedom.
Yeah, I think sometimes that's the thing you don't always get in kind of strictly commercial work that you can really benefit from. I think. Yeah. Doing this kind of thing. What was it? I can't remember if you told us, but I know people want to know. What was it shot on?
What was it shot on?
Yeah.
Sony FS7. Shot on a Sony FS7, and it was shot on two lenses, which 28mm and a 50mm Olympus Zuko lens with an anamorphic adapter on the end to give it that kind of anamorphic look. The cheap man's anamorphic.
You said the edit was quite a quick process because you kind of so storyboarded. You were basically just picking out kind of the best take of each of the shots. How many versions did you end up going through in that short edit window? How many versions did you go through to get the final thing?
One.
Nailed it first time.
I don't know. I think it's because I storyboarded it so strictly that I didn't. There wasn't really room for versions. I don't think. There was a couple of shots which I thought actually we don't need this. We don't need this bit. But to be honest, it really didn't have that many versions. Yeah. Sorry, that's it.
That's fine. It's almost a good thing, I guess, isn't it?
It's great.
All right, last question for me is, what do you think you do? Like, are you going to do more of this kind of thing? Is doing a kind of essentially kind of low budget or free projects? Do you see value in doing them, like doing lots of them, doing regularly? Does it kind of bring you something creatively or something kind of from a business point of view that you don't think you get through doing commercial work? And would you recommend people do them and do more of them?
Definitely. I think when especially when we like look at projects, we kind of look at it as if, quite bluntly, does it make us famous? Does it make us rich? And does it make us happy? I think if it ticks like one of those boxes, then you should go for it, as long as you're not putting yourself into some, I've done projects in the past which have been low to no budget, and you kind of end up thinking on the way like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have got into this. But it does bring opportunities. You might meet someone on that shoot who's a really good sound operator, and there you've got a contact. But I don't know. It's yeah. Personally, I feel like I need to just be like, I need to feed my creative soul and kind of nurture it a little bit by doing these kind of odd films or slightly off the wall projects. I can't. Yeah. I do a lot of food stuff, and I do a lot of branded content, and sometimes that can get to your brain if you end up doing the same thing over and over again. For me,
yeah,
but
definitely.
I think why not? Definitely.
I said that would be the last question, but I lied because Bradley's asked a question. I don't want to let him down, so this is going to be the last question. Bradley wants to know, what was your reason for outsourcing the grade?
Because I'm shit. No, I'm just... no. I think I'd never worked with a grading house before, and I just thought let's just see. I just really wanted to see what my work would look like, having sent it to professional grader. Because I just do it all myself. Yeah. I do it myself all the time, and it's kind of a bit of a dream to see your footage like actually being put into the hands of a professional. So we literally just emailed Cheat on the off chance that they'd be like, yeah, sure, and like. Yeah, they did. It was really nice of them. Really nice of them.
Mate, that's cool. That was a good question to end on. I'm glad we asked it. Thanks, Bradley.
Thanks, Bradley.
Mate, thank you. Thank you very much for coming on and telling us about the project. If anyone's got any additional questions for Ben, I'm sure they can hit him up on his Instagram or in the chat here, or WhatsApp him if you've got his number, or email him, or go around his house. No, don't go around his house. You're not allowed to do that.
Don't text me.
All right, don't text me.
Can I also just shout out to Kicking Off, who actually is the charity, and if you want to have a look at what they do, go on their Instagram, not their website, because their website is old. That's what I was instructed to say.
Nice. Check out Kicking Off's Instagram, mate. Thank you very much. Good to chat with you, dude.
Thank you, man.
Legend. Next, we're going to Josh. Josh, do you want to unmute yourself? Jump in.
Yo.
Hopefully that was seamless. I can't see what everyone else is seeing, so hopefully that was a seamless transition there. I've got no idea. How are you? You all right?
Yeah, good, man.
Has your dog departed and not snoring
anymore? He's been removed, mate. He's been removed.
Everyone else, Josh's dog was in the background when we were chatting just before we started this. Quite a loud snorer, Josh's dog. So we decided that maybe you should have a bed for a few hours.
Yeah, if it's not a snore, then it's a fart. So I just thought,
mate, I know it is.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to jump straight in. Do you want to tell us what we're about to watch?
Yeah. So this is the ad to launch Puma's. When Puma basically signed up with Man City to be their main sponsor, so it's a film for their new kit with Puma, basically, that was the start of this season.
Okay, sweet. Well, without any further ado, I'm going to mute myself. Josh, mute yourself. Luke will stick play on, and then we'll be back here very shortly to chat about it. Go, Luke.
Good morning, listeners. It's a beautiful day here in Manchester. Perfect to start the new season. And now in the local news.
Last minute! Pass inside! Come on, man. 2 and 1! What?
Oh, can you believe it? All the way from the defence, it's Zinchenko!
This is our city. So what's going on with this trial, bro? I'm ready.
Thanks, Boxy, but maybe stick to music.
All right, Josh, we are back. We're live, hopefully.
Sweet.
Hopefully I've absolutely nailed that timing. Absolutely got no idea. We'll find out. People can complain if I didn't. All right, I'll go straight into some questions, and you can hit me with some answers. So, first up is from Marcus. Is what lenses did you shoot on?
We shot on... What did we shoot on?
This is hard for you. This is the kind of thing that was 50-50 when I asked this. I was like, Josh, you either go no or not have a fucking clue.
No. Mate, do you know what? I love Lens Chat. Lens Chat's some of my favourite chat. We shot on Cook Anamorphics, but we shot on the ones that you don't get the lens flare. But then we added this filter that brings the lens flare back.
Why?
Because if you want anamorphic, you want the lens flare, innit?
But so why did you
Cooks have? I feel like Cooks have quite a glossy sort of like commercial look, and really I think when you shoot anamorphic, which I like because I think it sort of elevates this sort of like premium level, but also I think when you shoot anamorphic, you want a bit of character. And look, man, I'm no DP, so I'm not sure if I'm even getting this right, but I think that the main set of Cook anamorphic lenses, I think there's a specific set that do have the lens flare, but I think it's like the main Cook anamorphic set, they don't have the lens flare, but you can add in this filter, and it's literally like, it looks like this bit of glass with lines in it. Yeah. I don't know, I don't understand how it works, but yeah, we put that in to bring the flare back, because love a lens flare, innit?
Did you like it? Yeah, mate. It does look amazing. Like, also, you're right. I think the flares in it are like they add a huge amount. I think they do in general, but like in this, they definitely do.
Sweet.
How did the project come about then? Give me a bit of background.
So how did it come about? I got a call or an email from Copper90, who basically sent me a brief. They actually sent it to me and India, my friend India Harris, who's a creative, and we kind of put something together. We put a treatment together, pitched the creative, and then didn't actually hear back for a while, to be fair. It was only about probably maybe like 1 or maybe even 2 months later, came out the dentist and got a call, and they were like, right, it's go time. We need to get this shot like within the next few weeks. And actually at the time, India was on holiday, and I was just obviously still in the UK at the dentist. And I was like, oh shit, let's get this thing started. So yeah, and then from there, actually they were wicked because I feel like they really trusted us, and sort of left us to it a bit, but we were able to lean on them as the agency for like really good insight and knowledge on basically on Man City and the Man City fans, because obviously when you're doing something for a set of fans, you want to get it absolutely right, and you want to have all of that knowledge, and you almost want to say like, look, when you're watching that film, they want to feel like you know the team's history, the players, the fans. You want to know it inside out. So they were really, really good. I think they actually had almost like a 100-page report on research that they've done, which I may or may not have fully gone through.
That's not. We won't tell them.
Yeah.
What was someone asked about? Kind of what was the kind of the VFX setup? So like, who did the VFX for it? And then also like the practicality of the shot of the effects, kind of like following the ball.
Yeah.
Footwork. Like how does that work?
Yeah. So I should shout out Tristan Chenet as well, by the way, who DP'd this. And this was that shot. There was so many. Oh mate, we talked at length about the different ways in getting that shot, and in the end, as shoots do, they run over. You run out of time. We were freaking out. Yeah, man. So basically, we had this 360 cam, and the plan was to get it with the 360 cam, but we couldn't get the feed from the 360 cam to the phone, and we had about half an hour left. And I was like, this video will be won or lost in this shot. So we basically spent the last half an hour trying to get it shot, and it ended up it was a 360 cam on a stick held by our DOP, and he just ran into the net past the keeper. Keeper's like, "Ooh," and he's just running past into the top corner, and I was like, that'll work. And then so the VFX company, massive shout to Electric Theatre Collective. And yeah, man, they just absolutely nailed it. Like we sent them the actual ball. They then recreated that. Sent me loads of different like versions of the sort of like angles and trajectories of the ball, spinning, different coloured flames, different size flames. Like when I went in, it's like I had all these screens in front of me with all these different colour flames. And yeah, it was just awesome, man.
Okay, that's sick. I love that you actually went to the effort of sending them the real ball as well. That's like that wouldn't even cross my mind as like, oh yeah, like just send them a photo maybe, but actually them kind of like having it. Does that?
No, they
do you know what
wanted it.
What do they do with it? Do they model it?
I'm not sure exactly what they did with it, but they wanted the real ball for sure. Like they were like, it just helps to have the real ball. Like they really wanted it to be absolutely bang on.
Bang on, yeah.
As much as they could, obviously within our tight space of time which we had.
Nice, mate. That's really cool. And kind of where do you even start with planning or storyboarding something like that?
Yeah. So, well, okay. So I guess I'll start at the brief, which was
good idea.
Obviously, I think with all kind of like streetwear brands, there's a kind of a core market there, which is youth. So for me personally, I like that tonality. I think that they like seeing things that are kind of fun, energetic, dynamic. But then what we had from the brief were these kind of pillars that we needed to hit, which was music, gaming, obviously football. What else was in there? I'm trying to think now. As I was saying earlier, the last time I saw it was like 6 months ago. I had to quickly rewatch it before this call. But yeah, basically we had to hit a few pillars. So various things. We knew that we were going to have certain cameos, and basically it was left to us to try and because I didn't just direct it. I worked on the creative with India. So it was up to us to kind of link together those things and make a story out of it and make it make sense, which hopefully we did.
How much of that process, like how much of the total process of the project was that initial planning bit, kind of the storyboarding, the planning out, actually kind of like building out before you went and shot it?
Say that again, sorry.
So how long did you spend on that pre-planning process, the storyboarding, versus then how long it took you to shoot it?
Well, the thing is, because we didn't have long, we probably spent like a week or two in sort of creative development. We ran a few sort of like. So this is the thing as well. We didn't know which talent we were going to have.
That sounds like classic football.
Almost up until the day. So it's kind of like you need to be quite reactive, and we kind of had a set plan from the start, but we were very much aware that like these things might not be able to happen. There are certain challenges with shooting footballers, for example, where obviously they're on super tight schedules. They can't really you know, if you want to get 5 footballers in a film, they're not going to come to London for one if they're from Manchester. You know, one of them's not going to turn up for a shoot at your time when you want them, and the other one going to turn up the day after. It's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? You're going to have probably 5 of them potentially for 10 minutes each or something like that. So you have to take those things into account when you're writing the creative and make sure that what you're going to shoot is going to be one doable. And look, I'm always trying to push the boundaries and like push everything. And 100% with this project, I've tried to push it as far as I could. But I think you have to take into account those limitations. And that was something that's probably the biggest struggle. But sorry, I've sort of like veered off. But yeah, in answer to your question, it was a very short space of time with multiple factors that were constantly changing. So we just had to be sort of like reactive. And the development stages we probably spent a couple of weeks on, and continued to develop as we shot it.
I've got another question in here that's kind of, have you worked with the client before? Like, were they coming back to you kind of off the back of existing projects and doing them before? Or was that your first time working with them?
So the client is Puma. Yes, I have done a lot of stuff with Puma, but that was kind of coincidental. I've done loads of stuff with Puma before, but Puma is obviously there's a massive company and there's various sort of sections of it. I hadn't done anything with this specific this specific client. So obviously like their account. Obviously this came through an agency, so for me, client's kind of irrelevant to some extent, because and as a director, obviously I'm not really answering to them. I am obviously down the line, but I mean, personally, my experiences with Puma are absolutely amazing, and you know they were with this as well. But yeah, I assume that probably potentially I got signed off as a director because of that previous working relationship potentially, but I'm not 100% sure what.
How about the agency? Like, did you work with the agency before? Was that your first one with the agency?
Yeah, that was my first one with the agency, I think.
And did they come to you specifically, or kind of were you having to pitch on it?
We had to pitch on it. Yeah, we had to pitch on it. I don't know who else was in the mix or how many people were in the mix, or even if there were other agencies in the mix, actually. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I don't know why it took so long either, but yeah, I imagine whatever happened behind closed doors happened, and then yeah, we got signed off and got the green light. So obviously buzzing.
Nice one. Izzy wants to know how you got that shot with the remote control. I think she means with it's like a PlayStation controller, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that again was the 360 cam taped to the end of a controller.
Nice.
Yeah.
How like bodged versus official was that set up in terms of your attaching it to it?
Oh, pure bodge, man. Sellotape a lot. Pure bodge.
I always feel like sometimes, you know, the best shots come from that, like, just tape it on and see what happens.
100%, mate. 100%. Always, like, yeah. Big believer in the bodge job.
I've just taken a quick kind of eye look at this, how my YouTube stream is looking, and I think potentially I might be the most pixelated man in the world right now. So apologies to everyone, I look like one leg over it. Don't know why. I'm on 4G. I've got full signal, but there we go. Can't win everything, can you? Jack's asking kind of how much time did you end up getting with the footballers, and were they easy to direct?
So how much time did we get? So, oh man. So one of them was. So this is the thing. It's so tricky. One of them didn't turn up, I don't think. We had planned a scene with one footballer that was there that then left. So we spent a lot of time. So actually, luckily, we kind of got wind of that this might be the case or could potentially happen. So we shot the same scene twice with 2 players. But it's stuff like that. It's like you just don't know when you're trying to shoot something for a new season. You know everything can change, so you've kind of got to bear that in mind. But yeah, in general, they're absolutely great. You know, I imagine football's their life, but shooting an advert isn't really something they necessarily want to be doing. But they're great, man. Yeah, they were kind of up for it, and yeah, I think they kind of got me what I needed, and they understood it, and yeah, it was generally a good experience. I find usually.
I always, do you know what I find so often working with, like I say, especially like with sponsored athletes or kind of athletes who are part of some kind of team, that it generally goes one or two ways. Either they absolutely love that part of the job, or they think it's like a really important part of like promoting themselves or promoting whoever it is they're kind of playing with or for, and therefore are really, really into it and 100 like super pro. Or you get the exact opposite, and they're like, "This is the shittest part of my contract. They make me do 4 of these a year, and I'm going to be out of here as soon as possible."
Yeah, I don't know. I think it depends what's going on in their lives, but I think they know that, you know, part of their career is this, and you know, I think there's a certain way of gauging their sort of interest and sort of like getting what you need out of them. I think that if you sort of respect that they might not necessarily like want to be there, but I think if you're really clear with what you want and you're sort of fairly efficient in how you do it and you're well prepped and sort of planned, then I think they're cool to kind of give you what you want.
What do you reckon this has led to? Is this kind of been a notable thing for you that you've either like something you've shared to kind of win more work, or people come to you because of knowing you produce this?
You know what? I don't really know. I'm one of those people that is so negative about. Well, I'm not super negative, but I think I look at my work and I'm like, it's not good enough. And yeah, I kind of, when I finished this one, I was like, actually, I quite like that, and I felt like it was truer to the kind of thing that I want to do and the kind of like world that I want to be in. That said, to me, it still feels kind of like content. I hate the word, but you know, I want to be directing big commercials, and it felt like a step in the right direction, I think. And then after that, obviously, you know, I share it and whatever, and I think it's, you know, and then you're carrying on to work or whatever else. And a little bit of me, like everything I did after, I was a bit like, that's not as good as that, so I'm not going to post it. And for like a few months, I almost like didn't post anything, which was actually a massive mistake in hindsight, because I think that no matter what you think of your own work, I think probably it's still relevant, and still, I think people still want to see that you're like what you're doing and what you're up to and things like that. And I think I kind of got in a bit of a rut where I was like, this isn't as good, so I'm not gonna post this because it's not in the right trajectory of like where I want to be headed. Which is, I don't know how to sort of like talk about that, but I just, yeah, I can't even remember what the question was, but yeah, in answer to the question, I don't exactly know specifically if that has led to anything beyond that specifically. Like, no one's really said, and actually, no, to be fair, agencies have said that, I like this piece of work, blah blah blah. So yeah, maybe, man, but I'm not entirely sure. Yeah,
I think you're right. I think it's often so hard to know, because generally there isn't one thing that causes the next thing. Like, it's not one reason that you win a job. It's just maybe it feeds into one of the many reasons why you then get the next project, the next project, the next project.
Yeah, and I think that is why I didn't like post loads of other work after, because I sort of like, I know where I want to be, and if something that I work on doesn't specifically like align with that vision, then I kind of like disregard it. But I think you also have to think that ultimately for me, I feel like I'm in a very early stage of my career, and I think that ultimately I need to make a living. And I think if I sort of say, oh well, that's not as good, that's not as good, that's not as good, or it's not exactly what I want to do, kind of thing, and sort of like disregard everything, then I'm probably just going to like bury myself in a hole, which isn't good. I think actually what's better is, don't be ashamed of like anything that isn't your best piece of work, but because those things might lead to other opportunities where you can then create something that is maybe better or is as good, or yeah, I just think I got in a bit of a rut about like this kind of like vision and this kind of like route that I needed to like be going down, which obviously I'm still very much focused on. But I think, yeah, there's no need not to be like proud of other bits of work that isn't your like best piece of work.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. Well, I mean, I think everyone who's watching / listening / enjoying this is going to agree that it was a fucking sick piece of work. So well done. Good work, man. Mate, I'm conscious of time, so I'm gonna move on. But if anyone has got any questions that I haven't answered, then please do hit Josh up on Instagram, or you can still ask him in the chat. I'm sure he'll type back to you.
Sure.
Mate,
100%.
Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me.
It's been really sick having you. Thank you very much, man. I'm going to move straight on to Lucy and Sophie next. Do you guys want to unmute yourselves? And by some magic, hopefully Luke will manage to get you to appear on screen. How are you both?
Good.
Yes, very well, thanks. How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. I'm doing well. I'm enjoying it. Apart from having the most pixelated face on planet Earth, then I think I'm pretty happy. So much for a high quality phone, though. So, do you guys want to tell us what we're about to watch? I don't know whether you both want to tell us what we're going to watch, or whether one of you wants to take the reins, but it's completely up to you.
So I'm Lucy. I'm a filmmaker from Bristol, and I directed the film. I hadn't directed that many films before this one. It's called See What I Hear, and it's an experimental documentary that explores the ways in which visuals can enhance the experience and the. So, do you want to talk about the original commission?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Sophie Mizrahi, and I'm also a filmmaker, but I am currently furloughed from, I work full-time for an online music magazine called Resident Advisor, and I'm on the films team there. And basically we ran a competition with the ICA, the Institute of Contemporary Arts, about just over a year ago, and it was part of the Playback Festival that they do. Basically, it was for 16 to 25-year-olds to submit ideas for any kind of electronic music themed documentary, which is what we make at RA. And we got about 70, a really good response, about 70 applicants altogether, really, really high standard of pitches. And we narrowed it down to 5 who did a live pitch at the ICA. And Lucy's was one of those, and actually obviously the winner of that competition. So that's how we managed to commission. And the reason we picked it is just because the idea of doing a film about AV, there's not actually that many really good documentaries about AV, and I guess we can explain why and a little bit more about that afterwards. But Lucy had a really clear idea of what she wanted to do and who she wanted to talk to, and just had a really strong pitch overall. So we picked her, and really glad that we did, because I'm really happy with the result that she made in the end.
Nice. Well, that is, I think, a very good introduction to what we're about to watch. So I'm going to jump straight into putting the film on. If anyone's finding that they're having slightly kind of laggy internet, this one's a slightly longer one than the last two. So if you're having any issues with watching the stream, then there is also the Vimeo link, the YouTube link in the description of this, just to watch the film straight, which you can do if you'd like to now. Otherwise, stick on the live stream, watch it there, and we will join you back here in, I think, is it about 17 minutes time, roughly, Lucy? Seems about right. Yes, 17 minutes. We'll join you back in 17 minutes for Q&A with Lucy and Sophie. Enjoy.
I think that we've been overexposed to visuals. To the point that they become meaningless. Even when you walk around in a city, I mean, there's so much screens now. We're so used to it that we also shut it off. We start not to pay attention anymore. It's quite important to start creating audio and visual environments. taken more care as to not putting visuals everywhere. The field of exploration is always expanding. In that sense, there's more people that could work at that intersection between the sound and images. It's not just the interaction between, let's say, image and sound making, but it's also between different kinds of images. Images that are produced by regular projectors, by LED screens, and also by laser beams. So it seems like the mix of elements is constantly expanding, and it creates new possibilities where there's more and more artists that are working in the intersection between all those possibilities.
So do you like it?
Recently, we presented a performance by the Japanese artist Daito Manabe with a troupe of dancers. Daito has been quite known for integrating video, lasers, robotic arms, drones into his performances. The last show that we presented integrated artificial intelligent elements to the whole mix. It created like a whole new virtual territory of exploration. It's really exciting because those are things that could not have been conceived even like 10 years ago. There's a constant relationship of the art practice with the technological push that opens up new territories. I guess the message there is everybody should try to see audiovisual projects that will challenge their way of seeing things.
I've always been into fantasy and sci-fi. I used to spend a lot of time copying fantasy paintings. I loved stepping into other people's imagined environments. The town I grew up in, there wasn't much going on. I got to a certain age and I just got this huge boredom that I couldn't shake. Stepping into these made-up worlds helped me ignore it. I think having a confident visual identity to the music just heightens the experience of it all. I'm aware that there's people that enjoy the music being open to interpretation, but I feel being an illustrator as well as a producer means I have the chance to do more with my music. I feel like it's much easier to guide the listener to where I want them to be. The world I create is similar to ours. It exists in a parallel place set somewhere in the near future. It's a type of personal utopia, but I think it's also a personal dystopia as well. If I'm standing somewhere, sometimes I'll notice a detail that I like. It could be like a section of a bridge or the corner of a wall. and I like to imagine that existing somewhere else. Like literally identical, but it's a part of something completely different. I've always used this other universe as an escape from people and events in my life, just to take a break from it. I find everything exhausting sometimes, so I use this imagined place as a temporary holiday. I know I have to come back at some point though. The process is so different, it's almost like a separate part of the mind. I suppose creating the AV show is a way of me trying to bridge that gap. For the past number of years, my creative output has been defined by music. So having the opportunity to have my visuals be the main component in a performance has been a pretty liberating experience. It's had a big impact on how I make music. I think everybody's work says something about them. I find making music or visuals a really personal experience. Delving into your imagined world is a construct of your own doing. You're essentially delving into yourself.
My personal audiovisual style is expressing my personal character. It is not only about storytelling, it is talking about an idea, about confrontation, about influences. Tonstich is an audio-video project which is based on a sonorous dress. It is an imaginary dress. You never see the dress in my performance. I related the basic sound parameters attack, decay, sustain and release to the dress construction parameters X and Y. Electronic music in my work is fundamental because this kind of music is very energetic, very vivid, very powerful, and the visual can enhance the music in its interpretation. Bringing them to the perfect synergy means that it's creating a third dimension. It's a new level of perception. I want to leave space open in order that the people finish the story by themselves. I don't want to give a strict image to something. I would like that they try to imagine by themselves how it could be developed.
has a lot to do with how I frame the world I experience and how I bring the imagination alive sonically and visually. It also feels right for me not to follow certain disciplines of practice, but combining all possible forms of expression that appears naturally during the composition. I believe the extreme state of mind of live performance can amplify the speech of the artist, especially when the voice is distorted and abstract. Sound and images never stand alone. While writing music, moving images automatically being triggered in my head. They become the base of all the visual content I present alongside live music. Films, architecture, dance, theater, and really everything that holds mystery and curiosity have made my whole sonic world more vivid and alive. The process of creating is always full of extreme emotions. The pages of script are all messed up. When things are unknown, it gets more exciting. I zoom in and out of words, images, thoughts, sounds, melody, and sometimes even facial expressions stuck in my head, then reshape them through making music. And in the end, everything just comes together under the spotlight.
The main reason I got into working in audiovisuals was the potential to immerse an audience. A large part of these situations is the idea of escaping. And I think that there's a nice headiness to creating these moments for people. The way artists I'm working with control the flow of a night, through maybe the music or sound being more intense in places. That's the guide for me to kind of articulate their vision. If there's a really intense moment, there's momentum, there might be the amount of imagery you bombard people with. Dropping everything down in certain situations can really kind of just give people a break. You're along with the crowd as well, and they're all on the same path with the artist who's playing. Some of the DJs that I've done AV for, they've been really happy not to be the focal point, or particularly in the spotlight. So moving the attention away from them and the stage was something they were really interested in doing. And I think it kind of created a nice social dynamic in the venues as well, that people were less facing one direction. It felt like a new way of looking at how a club could work.
These curated visual languages are much more meaningful and offer an escape
from the constant bombardment of images we see in everyday life. I think as technology advances and ideas progress, a new experience for audiences is right around the corner.
All right, we are back.
Hello.
I think. Hope we're back. Hello, how are you?
Hi.
All right, I can hear you both. Hope everyone else can hear us all. That was sick. Well done.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Kick us off, Lucy. I know you said just before kind of we watched the film that you've not directed, like you said, kind of yours. You haven't directed a huge amount of work. One, that seems unlikely, having watched it. How did you manage to do something that good? As kind of as if you feel like you've not done a lot, and maybe just tell us a little bit about kind of how the idea came about as well.
Yeah, I guess I directed a few music videos before that, and like short, tiny little passion project documentaries. But in my third year, which was like 5 years ago or something ridiculous, or maybe 6, my last documentary used animation to tell the story of like 3 grannies during the war. So like I think I've always been obsessed with like how you can like break maybe the normal formalities of documentary and use like different elements. And I'm always like interested in using like stuff that I've been inspired by, like installation or animation, and like put it into a documentary format. So I guess I've always kind of like been interested in that. And then yeah, with this, that was the hardest bit of the film, was like, how are we going to make all these elements work in one film? I think that was like the main struggle that we.
Yeah, there's loads of there's literally questions flying in about 1,000,000 to 1, so I'm going to struggle to read this all out while speaking and not looking like a knobhead, but I'll do my best. There's quite a few people saying just how awesome the animated illustrations are. How tell me about those? Kind of who did them? How did it work?
So, like the film is kind of broken up into like different. So you've got your 3 insights, which are Alain, Amelie, and Sam, and then we've got Merlot and Panda Jing. And the purpose of those were to give like a more poetic and personal insight into their creative processes. And so they had like heavy involvement in kind of like what we were going to see, and it was going to be a sensory experience. So Panda Jing was inspired by water, and so she obviously was been shot in water. And then Merlot, he did his own animations because he's amazing. He's an animator, producer, DJ. So those are all his animations. But we like wanted all new animations, and he was gonna animate all brand new animations. And he was inspired by the Barbican. I don't know if you saw, there's like a Barbican reference in there. So he takes photos and he takes little elements of those photos and like makes them into like a utopian Merlot world. So originally we had like new animations from him, but then realized like, number one, we're not paying him to do this animation, and like animation takes so long. So he actually gave me like an hour's worth of footage from his live show, and I storyboarded the old animation and the new animation to fit in a sequence. Yeah,
that's really cool. It's like the animations are just they are mind blowing.
Really good.
It's really, really cool. Really good effort. Ben's asking, did you record the interviews or the dialogue with them first, and then film them after? Was it all around? Kind of what was that like general process with each of the contributors?
So the sensory experience, so Merlot and Pan Beijing sections were, again, we wanted them to have a lot of like input on what they wanted to say in their process. So we gave them a brief, because a lot of these people weren't like in the UK. Like Pan, we had to go to Berlin to shoot hers. Merlot, we recorded a voiceover with him, but we briefed him, we gave him questions, and then he wrote his own piece. And the same with Pan Beijing, she wrote her own piece, but we gave them a brief and like bullet pointed questions of the kind of stuff that we wanted to like obviously get. And then the insights were all live, like normal question and answers. We did Alain's over Skype, he's in Canada, and then we did Sam's in person, and so did Amelie's.
That's really cool. The kind of the music side of it, how did that kind of play in terms of, I guess maybe from both your sides, Lucy, in terms of like how much kind of input do you have on being involved in like what the music element would be? And Sophie, how was it kind of for you in terms of, was there any kind of licensing or planning practicality issues with that side of it, or was it all kind of part of the original plan?
I sent Sophie loads of tracks that I loved, and we obviously used loads of the artists' tracks in there, just ones that fit. Sophie would tell me if like it wasn't working or it's too distracting. So that was like a collaborative effort. I wanted to use some like Bristol producers as well. So there's like Factor and Jen, Yush. And then Soph, do you want to talk about the license?
We pretty much like Lisa said, the way that we picked the tracks was all quite accessible. So it wasn't like we were going to big companies and trying to get clearance. So that side of it was quite easy. And there was just so much to choose from. Like obviously, like Lucy said, Merlot is a producer himself. So he just had endless amounts of really amazing stuff. Same with Pam. Sam, with each of the others, they kind of had local people that they wanted to send for us to use, so that was obviously fine. And then it was just quite easy to pick stuff that went with the actual footage. And then we've got an in-house kind of more technical producer who does all of our sound mixes at RA, and he's really, really excellent, and he just kind of like fine-tunes everything and just added in some of the glitching and other sound effects that you hear throughout it as well. But that side of thing was pretty straightforward, to be honest. And Lucy had some really nice stuff lined up. So
amazing. Sophie, Joe's asking kind of how long was the project as a whole, and I guess maybe it'd be interesting to hear like how was Lucy, were you involved in the whole thing as well, or was there like, were you brought in at like a later, was there a bit of project that Sophie had to do before you then came in at a later stage?
No, I didn't catch that last bit.
So I was just saying, like, how long was the project as a whole, and like, Lucy, were you in it for the whole thing, or did Sophie have like, was the project with Sophie first and then kind of she brought you in later?
No, it was just me and Sophie the whole time, pretty much. A very collaborative effort between me and Sophie, but I think that's why it worked so well, because me and Sophie were both quite perfectionist, and we were just on the same page the whole time. She would like send me loads of edits, and then I would like say what I wasn't happy with, and then we'd do a lot of like, I'd go up to London and sit in on the edit for like a few days and stuff. So it's mainly just me and Soph throughout the whole thing. And it was 2018 the pitch, Soph?
So it was 2018, and then we were filming all throughout the kind of summer. We went to Berlin to film with Pan, up to Liverpool to film with Sam, and then in London for Amelie. And then we had, like Lucy was saying, Merlot was pretty busy at the time. He was putting out an album and doing loads of other amazing stuff. So we had to wait quite a long time for his animation, basically. And it was a really, really, really tough edit. I'm not going to lie. And when we first picked Lucy's idea, I guess we picked it because of the detail and just the ambition that she had. And then I quickly realised that I was going to be editing it, and I thought, like, what have I done? I'm a bit out of my depth here. And obviously I wanted to do it justice because she just had such a amazing concept. And I think the thing with AV is that like, it's such an immersive thing to be a part of in real life, and that's probably why there isn't that many good films about it, because you need to be able to translate that to someone who's watching. So you can't just have, someone talking about their work and showing their work. Well, you can, but it's not quite the same. And so Lucy's concept was just kind of really bringing people in and made it very much about going into the minds of each person and how they work and kind of bringing their work into that as well. So, and the idea for the introduction was kind of, it stemmed from there being a montage of all this kind of like stuff that we're bombarded with all the time. And between us, we just kind of like evolved that idea. And Lucy's reference was an A$AP Rocky music video, which obviously is like probably millions of dollars worth of crew and planning and everything. And doing all the masking and keying for that was just like very, very tough. But
you've never done that keying before.
Yeah, I've never really done any keying properly before, and I'd actually done all of that stuff in Premiere because I'm not really a big After Effects person either, and it was all done completely manually, so it just took forever. Right. And I was
what was the total process then? So, like editing timeline, how long did that take to finish the start and finish it?
Well, because I'm at RA, I also have other projects on the go, so it wasn't like I was just working on this full time. Yeah, but I think in total it was probably about 5 months or something, like on and off. And we also had a bit of delay when it was actually going out because we were waiting for a while for Pan to send her interview through. So that kind of like elongated it quite a bit. But yeah, it was a very lengthy process, but we were quite lucky. This wasn't a brand partnership. Obviously it was with the ICA, but in terms of a release date, it was quite flexible. So we weren't under pressure like probably the other guys were with when you've got another partner like Puma, for example. I'm assuming they're not going to let you crack on and go deep for 5 months. So we were quite lucky from that respect.
How much can you remember like roughly how, you know, it was saying like weeks in total? I know it was over like a on stop and start thing, but like roughly how long the edit actually took you?
Oh, what do you reckon, Luce? It was probably about a month and a half, maybe.
Yeah, it's hard because we did break it up quite a lot, didn't we?
Yeah, and also like the part with the TV screens as well, a lot of that was kind of masked, and that just, I think the thing that took the longest overall was the keying, the masking, and also like Lucy mentioned at the beginning, there's just so many different kind of it's very multidisciplinary and each artist is very unique, so kind of making the narrative flow but still doing each one justice was quite hard. We definitely jumbled it about quite a lot. It wasn't like what the Ben was saying at the beginning, how his one just fell into place. Yeah. It was like the opposite of that. Basically,
what was the total process from kind of like Sam's asking, like from conceptualization right at the start to it being kind of a finished piece?
Maybe a year, I think.
Yeah,
it was quite a long time
because we also had to shoot like in the studio. Like what we probably shouldn't have done is we shot all the 3 insights in like amazing infinity curve studios, like against white backgrounds of amazing lights, and then we put it all onto screens, and like you wouldn't have been able to, like, we could have just shot it against my white wall because it was manipulated so much with all these amazing effects that like that took a long time as well. And I had to, one thing that I was quite sad about was the TV shoot. I sequenced, so say there was 15 TVs, the plan was to have half of the TVs interacting with each other, so 2 subjects looking at each other up and down, like loads of interactions, and it was meant to be half of the TVs doing that, so I had to sequence and structure like folders like TV A, B, C, so that they'd play back and interact with each other. But in the end we could only get 2 interacting TVs instead of like 7. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we had to work on.
Yeah, so the kind of organisation of that TV shoot alone was
ridiculous, quite
a few weeks, and then of each, you know, going to Berlin with Pan, that was like another chunk, and it all just kind of like chugged along quite slowly. But
someone's asking, what was the kind of duration point of view? What was the choice around that? Was that kind of from your side, Sophie? Is that a resident advisor thing in terms of how long it is? It was kind of, do you guys discuss it being longer or shorter, or is that something that Lucy chose from a kind of directorial point of view?
I think you had a kind of idea in your head at the beginning, didn't you, Luce? But yeah. The problem is obviously it's an online, like with most stuff these days, it's online, and people's dwindling attention span means that you can't really push this stuff too far. So we wanted to try and give each artist enough time to be able to delve into their world enough that kind of did them justice, but then, you know, wasn't like a feature length kind of thing, which it probably could have easily have been.
I think in the original pitch it was like 15 minutes or maybe less. So we went over, a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm conscious. I just want to make sure I get through as many questions as possible. Apologies if I missed anyone out eventually. I'm sure you guys are happy to answer any more questions afterwards on the gram. Izzy's asking kind of what was the process for the voiceovers in terms of like, were they scripted, or was that entirely just natural what you got out of the process of doing those interviews?
So Merlot's was partly scripted. Yeah, he like wrote a lot of it, but we helped him and we briefed him and we gave him questions and we like put him in the right direction. And then the insights were all normal interviews. So I prepared all the questions and I did all the research on each person and structured, the questions. So I put like, I don't know, a question at the top that would break the ice, and then Sophie did chip in on I think I was quite nervous about the interviewing Alain from Mutech because he's just really intelligent and is like the top guy of AV. So I was quite nervous when we were doing that one over Skype. So Sophie like chipped in there as well.
Nice. I think this is going to make this the last question, just from a time point of view, but I appreciate they've probably not managed to get to everyone's. So I'm sorry about that. But yeah, please do hit up these two on Instagram for if I've missed out your question at all. Ben's just kind of actually going back to the edit process a little bit. Obviously, because it took over such a long time, did you get tired of it, or did it kind of start to feel like it was going to drag out, or kind of did you become a bit desensitized by that kind of it being so long, or actually was that extra time quite nice to help you think about kind of where the edit should go?
Oh, 100%. I was like tearing my hair out by the end of it. To be honest, me and Lucy are both just so like, we just put so much of our energy into it over such a long time. And I'm sure anyone who's watching who's an editor will relate that once you've done that, you're so deep into it, it's really hard to suddenly step back and be objective about how it's looking and how it's feeling. Luckily, I've got a really amazing boss at RA who has been there for quite a long time, and he was, you know, kind of giving feedback along the way. But it's really difficult to just kind of like take a step back and appreciate what you're doing and just kind of see it for what it is. You get really swept up into all the different elements of it that it was quite.
By the end of it, we were like, is this even good? Yeah. Is this even good? I don't know anymore. I've seen it so many times. You become like I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is. Do you know what, I think there'll be a lot of people watching who can have been in that same position before, where you're kind of like, a project has gone on for so long, or you just see, even if it hasn't gone for that long, you've just seen it so many times that it's a little bit hard to tell by the end of it whether it's amazing or terrible, and you don't know anymore. But it is, but maybe it's like, I guess that's the benefit of getting some other eyes on it sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wrap up questions there. Just I'm very conscious that at 8 o'clock is the NHS clap, and I don't want anyone to miss it. I don't know how far everyone is from their front door, balcony, window, or where they want to go and clap. So thank you both so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. It was really cool to see your film, Lucy, and Sophie, and to hear a little bit about how you made it. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
If anyone's got any extra questions for these two that I've managed to not notice or miss, please do feel free to ask ahead. You've got both their Instagram links there. And thanks everyone for coming along. Thanks for joining. I hope it was good. You enjoyed it. If you did like it, please tell us so that we know that we should keep doing them. If you didn't like it, then maybe just don't tell us. Thank you very much. I hope you all have an awesome rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend and head outside for a big NHS clap. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.